So now, there is something, an article that you're seeing there from The Conversation, which is academic rigor, journalistic flair. That's what they are claiming there. But there was this particular article written by Wunpini Fatimata Mohammed. Let's find out who this is. So Wunpini, she, her, hers. So immediately when you see this, you just know it's a woke Westerner. The assistant professor of communications at Cornell University. So Wunpini is the PhD, the Pennsylvania State University, an assistant professor in the Department of Communication at Cornell University. She is a co-editor of the book African Women in Digital Spaces, Redefining Social Movements on the Continent and in the Diaspora. She's an activist scholar. Okay, that makes so much sense now. Okay, whose research focuses on feminisms? They said feminisms, decolonization, and social movements. All right, let's go back. Now, the reason why this is important, Netflix gives African film a platform, but the cultural price is too high. I want you to envision a situation where various industries in Africa have been given quite a lot of money, millions of dollars, to produce content for Netflix. And the Nigerians, and I believe the South Africans, lead that in Africa. If you do remember, I did a video about Nigerians losing the funding for the original commissioning of their content. Now, this is, in my opinion, kind of a follow-up, kind of like a PR move. And I'm going to explain this to you systematically so you understand what I'm saying, because I'll give you the real reasons why Netflix has pulled out from majority of the markets, actually funding. They're licensing still like already produced content, but they're not doing original African content, except in South Africa at this particular moment. Now, I'm going to explain this to you rationally after I've read a bit of this very long article by Wunpini. So Netflix began its African operations in South Africa in 2016. When the US streaming giant announced it was setting up shop in Nigeria in 2020, many West African filmmakers, writers, artists, and media audiences were jubilant. Yes, money is coming. And audience, access to audience. Finally, West Africa's creativity and brilliance would be formally recognized on the world's stage. Netflix Nigeria's purpose was to produce local content for Netflix, just like Netflix South Africa and later Netflix Kenya. I will come to that. Some filmmakers have been wary of US cultural imperialism happening through the market dominance of Netflix and the US streamer. So from there already we're now meeting the ideological dispensation of this particular person writing this. And what she's writing might be very marginally true, very, very marginally, but it is not actually. No, let me change that. It's actually not true. This is an ideological push that we've seen from the progressive left in the West. They have a lot of it in colleges, a lot of very stupid and very useless courses. By the way, they come along with this. I've read you what she does and that. So naturally, what she's writing about, they all talk about all these identities and oppressions or colonization, and so you can see the cultural imperialism. Now, let me explain to her, because a lot of these so-called academics are actually quite dumb and ideologically possessed. Throughout history, when a people is conquered, they always assume the culture of the people that's conquered them, because that's the nature of it. And often you are conquered because you're weak. That's just a fact of it. So Africans generally took up the British, German, whatever colonizer that colonized them. They took up a lot of their culture. Try and remove Christianity from Africa right now and you'll have a revolt. I'm just telling you the truth. Try removing a lot of this the way we do business, the way we do law and the government setups, all this. We are borrowing from everywhere because there are people who've already done these things. So there is a rather backward and very ignorant movement by people like this to try and litigate or relitigate what has happened before so that we can use their ideology to actually to basically how we do business now. They want us to think in this way. So they say about the cultural imperialism, I don't care about that. If something is good in a culture, whether it's foreign or local, I will assume that because it works for me. So Netflix interest in Africa stories came with a colonial power dynamic. You can already tell the charged language. Colonial power dynamic that research and scholarship has not fully explored because it's nonsense. And we understand it because they want to create a business and an ideology and political dispensation from this. So you can see this already loaded language about stories come with colonial power dynamic. As a scholar of media and communication, I recently examined the effect US streamers are having on the stories being told in film in Nigeria and Africa. I've studied that. In my study, I argue that despite the growing global interest in African pop culture, Africa creative workers need to be careful about interest from global conglomerates. We can't talk about African cinema going global without paying attention to how Hollywood's colonial relationship with Africa has shaped and influenced what African filmmakers believe will sell globally. Okay, there's some truth and a lot of bullshit. Of course, how people lie to is that they put a little truth and then they explode it and make it bigger than it is. So when she talks about colonial power dynamics and Hollywoods, what did she say? These people have so many of these stupid descriptions. They just make up a lot. So in her study, I am going to go ahead and say her study is actually an exercise in trying to, to confirm your biases. That's a bias confirmation process. That's how most of these do these studies. So when they talk about Africa cinema going global without paying attention to Hollywood's colonial relationship with Africa, Hollywood doesn't have a colonial relationship with Africa. There are specific countries that had that kind of relationship. And right now, what we've assimilated into our cultures and how we do things is a mishmash of all types of people that we've met and interacted with. So what these people are trying to do is, because this is the bottom, the real of it. Hollywood, the current woke Hollywood, which, by the way, she is the one that gives people like this platform to talk this nonsense. It's called the woke progressivism. This is what gives them this platform. And also you've seen a lot of this just placing black people randomly everywhere in terms of inclusion and diversity. That's where all this ideology comes from. And she's talking about Hollywood colonial relationship while she's basically parroting what they push. She's part of their tribe. So what is happening here is that she's trying to hoodwink you because a lot of the Hollywood people like these ones, they're the ones who create those guidelines of diversity and what to be implemented across the world. They're the ones who do it. But then they're trying to turn it around and say, hey, look, Hollywood does this thing. No. You are the people who do it. This ideology is Western. It's not African, even if it's written by someone who seems to have like an Africanish name, but she's an immigrant there and she's woke. So she'll feed you a lot of rubbish. But what is really going on is they're trying to run away from the responsibility of the fact that they were given millions of dollars and failed to help Netflix get subscriptions wherever they were. That's what exactly happens. The producers in Nigeria that were given these opportunities, they, for lack of a better word, they shit on the opportunity. And that goes for Kenya also, because they stopped Kenya and many other places. Even South Africa, they're starting to have some issues, but South Africa has a very powerful subscription base for them. I think it's the biggest in Africa. So they can give them more leeway. But here, they've given millions of dollars to Kenyan, Nigerian, and producers to produce original African content or from Kenya or whatever, but who at the same time giving them the guidelines that these people have written, that you must have this, you must have LGBTQ, you must have this. It's not African at all. They know that. So what happened is that you're given funding if you write certain ways. But Nigerians didn't suffer that, because Nigerians just continued with those low quality films they were making on the street. They just had a bigger budget, so more people. The story is still as thin, the same storylines, the same nonsense. If you look at Hollywood storytelling at the moment, because of the progressivism and the identity politics, they do the same thing. Repetitive, same tropes. Oh, woman is so strong. The only bad thing is that she doesn't realize how strong or powerful and best she is. They're always creating this kind of Mary Sue characters around women, around black people, alphabet community people. That's what they do. So it's an idea. It's something to push the ideology, but at the same time they want to tag themselves to like African culture, although they do not respect one thing about any African culture that they're talking about, because they'll try to push their foreign ideologies. This is a foreign woman. She's an American. So even if they try to talk about all this Africa, they don't know. They're pushing an ideology. Say they will corrupt and change the way our cultures are to fit this ideology. So after Nigerians and all these Ghanaians and all this, the producers were given money. They got corrupt. They lived lavish. They didn't produce a quality product that was going to increase the subscription of Netflix in the given countries, because they're a business. They have to do it. They, in a lot of cases, they do not push the ideology. They just license or commission what is already great and people have accepted it. In America, they tried to push that woke stuff, and then it failed in so many of the projects that they were trying to push, which, by the way, people like this Unpini underwrite. So what is going on at this particular moment? Such an article is designed to whitewash the mediocrity of the African producer who was given the resources to do the work. So in my opinion, because also Nigeria is like a big Muslim community, Saudi, all these places, Netflix is there. It never pushes. It never says, oh, you must put LGBTQ, blah, blah. It's only if you accept. Because that's what they are not telling us. A lot of the producers in Africa, they perjured themselves and started pandering to these Western progressive ideologies to get the funding. And they did produce crap that the population doesn't even attach themselves to or even like. Then what happens? They don't subscribe because I look at that. Oh, it's shot well, it's produced well, but that story is useless. They're putting things there I don't even care about. That's what is going on here. So this is actually a bad excuse of a PR exercise. They went and picked some person doing a PhD, these useless courses here they have in America. Is that thing. When I did research, you didn't do any fucking study. You're an ideologue. That's why a lot of these things that they don't sound authentic. You're a scholar of media and communication. You're not a scholar of media and communication. You have a useless degree for activism purposes. That's why you call yourself, yes, what was it, an activist scholar. It's because you're trying to get your main money and power from the activism, not the scholarship. That's why a lot of ideas that you bring out are actually very backward, and they're lies. They're not based in any study. I can tell you for free that if because you write somewhere that they used English in some of this, yes, majority of the biggest, the most spoken language in the world is English. If you're a business person, you would make movies and programs that have a lot of that language. That's why even people in South Korea, they put English subtitles or actual dubbing into English, so that they can sell to English-speaking countries, which are many in Africa, many in Europe, America, the biggest market of movies. As in, this is basic business. And it's not like we don't speak these languages in our locations. You might have variations, say in Nigeria, they have the English, then there's some Pidgin, but it's still English. In Kenya, same, one of our major languages that we are speaking now is English. So when somebody comes to tell you that, oh, you are running away from doing a legit thing out of language that we use anyway, every day, they're being dishonest. English is part of our culture. That is whether you like it or not. But these people want to lie to you about that. The reality on the ground is that it's the corruption that made Netflix run away. And then there's no cultural prices too high. These people, like herself, she's there pushing woke identity politics. That's socialism, communism nonsense. That's not African. You want to force us to say these ideas that you've corrupted in the West so much are part of us. They're not. They're part of you, the corrupt elite, that are really, really starting to get extremely counterproductive to our aims. We want to produce movies that are entertaining to the world so that we can access those markets. It's nothing to do with your fake cultural issues that we don't care about. People want to be entertained. If they get to hear different language, see people behave different somewhere, that is icing on the cake. But great movies are done by human conditions that we all share. It doesn't matter your skin color. That's where the most profound art is. It's not on these fringe identitarian movements that are trying to hoard the space and tell us how we should tell stories by creating such narratives about fake studies that they never did. Dancing to the tune of the West. You dance to the tune of the market. If you don't want to make movies for the British or the Americans, just don't. Make it for your market. But don't try and force people that they must invest in you and then you do exactly what you want. No, you're not competent enough. You haven't shown to be competent enough. You must follow their rules because they're the ones who succeeded the most. It's just a fact. If you don't want to do movies in English, don't. Go and do your fringe movies there for your tribe of 10,000 people. Go do that. Let's see how well it works. You could, of course, get out of that situation by doing great stories. There's some movies that have not been in English that have been so great that people just overlook that aspect. But they're far and far between. They are very few and far between. So what really works is that if you are targeting a place where you want people to watch your movie, the language must be taken into consideration. It's not that we don't speak English. I mean, we speak English. Do you know what Sheng is? Sheng is a mixture of English and Swahili and the local dialects. We speak English, and it's part of our culture. Madam Munpini Fatimata Mohammed. It's Africans like you and black people like you that have really gone off the deep end. You've joined the white left of progressives because this is the ideology, it's not yours. This identitarian crap, it's theirs. Now you're trying to own it and trying to evangelize to us about it and destroy our art and creativity in the process. That's just the way it is. Anyway, guys, I saw this somewhere. We were arguing about it on some WhatsApp group, and I thought it was really informative of the times we are and what you have to be careful about, because there's a lot of stupid propaganda out here that is trying to dissuade you from engaging with the rest of the world, that is trying to dissuade you from doing business with the rest of the world based on your identity, because they want you to think of those people as bad people, colonialists. Most of what people don't care that you exist. They've never met you or had issues to deal with you. By the way, there's a lot of noise, forgive me, but it is what it is. So the thing is, we as a people are going out there begging and being arrogant at the same time and calling the people we are begging from the worst kind of names, colonialists, I don't know what, imperialists. Because this is what they do, these people. The entire work is to eat the identity, to make money from the identity. This disgusting, backward behavior. And I had to say this because I know these flaws are a lot among our circles these days in creativity. Do not be manipulated by this backwardness. We all need each other in this world. I am personally thinking, I'm hoping that when I do my movie, I'll be able to show it in the US, in the UK, Netherlands, in China, India. I would like to do that. But you're not going to, when you're coming here calling people imperialists, culturally, US cultural imperialism. And it's just the same nonsense. That's meant to drive a wedge between us. So beware of this woke garbage, ladies and gentlemen. It's a bit of a longer video than I wanted to, but there's a lot to. So there's a lot of this kind of information rabbit holes that have been funded by so many insidious people in this world. That the entire premise is to own the culture. They'll take your culture and change it into some Western thing, this identity politics, because that's the main concentration. So they want you because you're black, because you're a woman, because you are, they call it indigenous, if called your alphabet community. So they're saying all these minorities, they are poor and weak. They are gathering us as a political movement. I don't want to join those people. Have you seen what they're doing in the US? They can't even describe women. They're grooming their kids into this degeneracy of trans. That's a fact. And Hollywood is leading. You look at all these Hollywood stars. Each of them has some trans kid or gay or what. How is that possible? Such a fringe movement can have so much adherence that you find like Charlize Theron has like all her kids are either this non-binary, trans or gay. How? How is that possible if they're not grooming them using these stupid ideologies like this? Mtajua tu. Slowly by slowly you start to understand it. Be very careful, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of these ideologies are no good for us. And they're trying to, using very nice words, they're trying to blunt you so that you're not able to compete. Oh, you know, about the imperialism. Nonsense. There's no imperialism stopping you from doing that, except your mediocrity and your unwillingness to challenge stupid ideas as they come to you. Like this. The Netflix gives Africa a film platform, but the cultural price is too high. Who's this person to tell you anything about it? She says she claims she's done studies, but she's doing studies to confirm her own biases, to push the nonsense. If I'm telling you, if you look even in Harvard, there are women who did studies about the effect of feminism. When the results didn't go the way she wanted, she lied about the results. They are always lying and they're always pretending they've done objective studies. They have not. They look for a study to attach it onto an ideology so that your guard is let down. Actually, we've done research. It's true. No. Be very careful, ladies and gentlemen. This garbage is going to destroy the world if we continue having it. The most fringe, stupidest ideas are being pushed on us like they're great. Nobody, is there anyone in your village who cares about imperialism and whatnot? No, they care about business. Make a living and for a plan for the future. That's what it is. Otherwise, I don't know if this made sense to any of you guys. What do you think about my rant over here? Please leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. You can go to TikTok also. You can follow over there. Instagram, Alboa Cinema everywhere. X, of course. I'm going to put this everywhere because I like to raise a little hell when there's bullshit in the air. Okay?
What's up, everybody? My name is Nick Kwach, actor, writer, and all nice things. Please, if you have not subscribed, hii channel, like, sijui unaona nini, cinema yako unaitolea wapi? Because if you have not subscribed to Alboa Cinema, this is where you will get everything. So subscribe. Ni wewe naongelesha. Subscribe.